Hello everyone, Michelle here from the Creative Cove. Thanks for joining me today. I have collected quite a little assortment of some metal bits and bobs, not even including buttons. I have some buttons as well, but I was in the mood to maybe play with some metal bits and pieces, some of these fun little doodads, like doohickeys. I don't know what the technical term are for these sorts of things, but I've had them in my stash for some time now. I have done resin projects in these, but I thought maybe we could have some fun using up some of these pieces and see what we can come up with. So I have your little clips there and your eye pins or split pins, but here I have a selection of broken jewelry pieces, stuff that hangs off necklaces, just a small little collection here that has accumulated in random places and then ended up in this little tin. So maybe we'll use some of that. Not sure what we're going to use today, but we'll get started and we'll see what we come up with. So I've just grabbed a collection of scraps here, including some of the master boards we made in the last videos. I wanted to use these up because I think they're quite pretty, but what I like about them is they're sturdy, so they'll be handy to hold the weight of things like the metal, especially bigger pieces, if we sew them on. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to make an envelope. So just your basic fold down envelope, and then I plan on using some metal pieces as like a little closure, a little decorative closure. So let's see how this transpires. I'm just cutting away the edges here like I do with most of my envelopes. Very makeshift, nothing fancy. You can use whatever tools you have, of course, to make envelopes, or you can actually use an envelope in your stash if you have envelopes you haven't used yet. But I wanted something a little bit more decorative, so I'm using this old book page from a botanical, I think it's Ontario Weeds it was called, and they're fabulous little sketches in there, so I like to use these kind of papers. And I'm just going to ink around the edges to create a pocket, and then more of a vintage look to the pocket, and then I will start decorating with the metal. I don't glue the envelope together until I've decided where everything's going to go. So I'm going to pull out some different pieces and experiment. So just adding a little piece of tape over the split pins so that when you put things in the pocket, they don't grab. Just a little trick I've learned over the years to smooth out any rough surfaces inside a pocket so that they don't grab the materials you're putting in there. And here I realized that it's a little bit short. It does hold the pocket closed, but I wanted something to grab it a little bit stronger so that it doesn't keep popping open. So I folded the envelope down a little more and so that it can grab that little metal bracket at the bottom. So these are cute little pockets, but what I love is the elements where you're mixing papers and metals and fabrics and all kinds of goodies all together. And if you're an avid junk journaler, you're going to collect all kinds of random things like pop can tabs and metal that you find on a walk. It's amazing how you can see the life in other little bits and pieces of randomness that other people would just discard as trash. And though technically it probably is trash, there's something really fundamentally enjoyable about recycling something like trash in your journals. And the whole premise is the name of your journal is a junk journal, so it's fitting. Anyways, I'm rambling on. So here I am just using a little label, a little metal trinket label. I'm not sure where I got it from. I have a few of these. I've used a few in other projects, and they have these cute little charming messages on them. I'm assuming I got them for a workshop, for a journaling workshop, and these are my leftovers. So I'm going to punch 2 holes on either side of the little tab that you can sew or pin in. You could probably use one of those pins just to pin through, but I want to add a little bit of string. So this is a waxed cord. It's almost like a sinew. So it's very, very sticky, which is great. So you only have to sew through once and tie a quick knot, and Bob's your uncle, it is going to stay there forever. And then I'll just repeat the process on the other side and put some tape over it just to reinforce the knot. And then I will decide that I was going to glue this whole thing down, which is why I didn't sew it right through the paper. But then I decided I'm just going to glue the edges and do another little kind of belly band in the middle. So as you're experimenting, you discover these cute little ways to make additional pockets, which is what is my favorite thing about journaling, is discovering new techniques and new styles and new ways of applying things. So now I've got this little side, a top belly band, which I'll probably put higher up on the paper, and decide to put something through the top and through the little belly band we just created. But again, just another little metal element. So I noticed the paper behind was a little bit boring, so I decided to just give it a little bit of texture with some ink and a stencil. And here I've got a stamp. I'm sorry, don't know the stamp's name. That's just random, and I'm not using the whole thing. I just want the lines and a little bit of writing and some black ink, just to mess up the background. And then I will ink around the edge of the paper just so that it's all cohesive, and then decide where to glue it. So you can see just that little bit of texture added to the background really does improve the overall look of the page. So there's the little belly band there, and then again behind. So just some fun little pockets. So this is again a piece of that masterboard that we created a little while ago, and I thought maybe I could make some clusters instead of fabric, or maybe adding fabric. We're going to use some metal bits. So this is a really fun little way to use up your metal pieces without too much bulk. The danger is you can go pretty bulky. We don't want to do that. But it is nice to have that kind of rough texture in the corner of a page with a new element like metal. So I grabbed some little fabric scraps I have and thought maybe playing with some soft, delicate lace in contrast to the stiff metal could be interesting. And just throw a little bit out. And then I've remembered I had these little brackets. I don't know what they're for, some sort of jewelry finding, and I thought that would be really fun to play with. Now, I start horizontal here and realize that the flower's kind of running the wrong way, and I want the flower to kind of show through still. So I realize I want to go this way, and the bracket that I've chosen is a bit too big, so I'm looking for a little smaller one. See if I can find something that will fit this scrap. And I do find one that's a little bit smaller, which is perfect. So now I'm going to take this tape, and it's medical tape. It's just super cheap medical tape. It's kind of got a fabric to it, like a fake linen feel from the dollar store. And I'm going to stamp on there with my trusty dollar find that I got from the thrift shop. Love that stamp. Super easy. And then I had this fun idea of using these staples. You just kind of squeeze the staple out a little bit so you can see it, and then you can line that staple inside that tiny little hole. So you squeeze it out just a smidge, and then visually you can line up that staple with that hole and staple. And then you have it attached. So I will again tape the back just for reinforcement. Plus I would recommend using a thicker cardstock on a masterboard than I did. Mine's a bit thin. It's got a very old book page behind it, which would hold it even better. But the tape will work. As long as you're not pulling something in and out of there every couple of minutes, it should last quite a while. So you can see it's ripping a little bit there. So I'm just going to reinforce that with some tape. And it's a really cute little tag. I think I embellish it a little further here with a little tab at the top. I think it just kind of finishes it off, and then I add a little dangle to it. And the dangles, I pre-made a couple of these dangles a while ago with some metal bits and bobs, just because I had so many kicking around. And like I said, you're as a junk journaler, you're always finding new stuff to add to your collection. And this is the little one I put. So these little wings I had left over from a workshop that I did, and I think they make cute little dangles. So that's a cute little project there. Super simple with a stapler. So now we'll start on a little cluster, and just glue some lace in the contrast, like I said, some soft with some hard metal, and see how that turns out. So here I decide to cut away a little bit of the paper so that the soft edge shows up a little bit more on the outside, just so it shows off a little bit more contrast with the harsh metal, which I think is really quite a pretty look. You could have a lot of fun with this. So I'll just show you a couple of little things that we did, plus some others that I did off camera. So there's our little pocket, there's our little tag, and there's our little cluster. I also did, the envelope that we had made, which I really like the look of. I think that's really fun. Belly band that I did using that staple technique, just something you can glue in your book, as well as a little cluster here with a really cool button in the middle. And then I did another little pocket that shows off one of those cute little sayings. I really like that, and I just sewed that through. And then this one is a pocket with the metal, and I've used the pins to adhere that metal piece. And then it just flips up with a pocket and a drawing on the other side that you can paint in. I think that's really a fun little project. That's how I made it there, with the little pockets and the split pins. I also forgot to include this cute little pocket. It had fallen on the floor. And just a mini little pocket there I think is adorable. And you could put little metal pieces in it. Here are some of the little bullpen, not bullpen, what are they? Just kind of like a safety pin. I can never remember what those things are called. And I just throw a bunch of spare pieces on it. So I hope this gave you some inspiration. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and take care, everyone. Bye.